we don't want you to get injured in the gym. So as much as we do want you to go that little bit heavier, get that bit stronger, you should not be getting injured in the gym because you're much more likely to get injured at jiu-jitsu. Let's leave the chaos to the grappling and keep the control in the gym. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. When to go heavier? That's the question. You're lifting, you're not sure, how heavy do I lift? And once you get there, you feel all right. You're like, when do I go heavier? Like, at what point is it right for me to go heavier? Whether you're trying to build muscle, trying to get stronger, we are going to answer that riddle for you. And the place you got to start, Joe Worthington, is where to begin.
Yeah, well, we get asked this a lot with our people that use our programs, right?
We do.
They're like, hey, when should I increase weight? And I guess the other question people ask is like, how much weight should I start with?
Yeah.
Right? And so there's a couple of basic rules around this that are going to help to guide you. So yeah, let's dive in. First thing is, let's imagine you're pretty inexperienced with training and you've like signed up to a program and it's like, start doing this exercise, 4 sets of 10. What weight do I pick?
Yep.
So the first thing that's happening is you got to learn the exercise. This is what we got to acknowledge. When it's a new exercise, even if you're like a more advanced strength person, athlete, hobbyist, if you encounter a new exercise, you're not advanced at that exercise. So you have to learn it first. Now, this might take a few goes, i.e. a few times doing that workout to learn it. So in that regard, you're going to pick something light.
Yeah.
Now, something light is just start somewhere. So maybe it's an empty bar. Maybe it's a 12 kilo kettlebell, right?
Yeah.
Do a set of 10. Was that ridiculously easy? Okay, if so, you can add a little bit of weight. Maybe you put 2.5 kilos on each side of the bar, grab a slightly heavier kettlebell, whatever. But the idea is that you want to be able to perform all of the sets at that weight, feeling like technique's pretty good.
Yes.
Before you would go up.
Yeah. And another thing, and this is without getting too technical with it, there's a scale in lifting, which is your RPE, which is your rate of perceived exertion. How hard was that? Now, without getting too technical on it, it's literally, okay, I got an empty bar on my back. I did some squats. It's a 20 kilo bar. I did a set of 10. What was that out of 10? Now, 10 is your maximum effort. Did that absolutely smoke you? You can do no more. Or was that more like a 3 out of 10? Was it pretty cruisy, pretty easy? Because 1 is too easy. 10 is too hard. We're looking for that kind of sweet spot. We're looking for like, probably like a 7.
Yeah.
If you can find a 7, that's good.
I'm working, but it's manageable.
I got a little bit more in the tank.
Yeah, super manageable.
And the thing that we're going to talk about more and more is just we want you to do the movement well. So the default mode should be go a little bit lighter so your technique is good. And once you've got that coordination and you feel confident, okay, I can maintain my technique. I can maintain the technique across all the sets and all the reps. All right, maybe now I'm ready to do a little bit more.
Yeah. A practical thing I do with my guys that I think is a great recommendation to make, so let me make it, is to look at the first week of your new program as like a discovery week. So it's like, all right, what are the exercises that I'm going to be doing for the next 6, 8, 12 weeks? Today, I'm doing workout 1. I'm going to practice those exercises, watch the videos, like I'm going to try and like learn the exercise. And I'm also going to use today or this week to establish what my working weight is for next week.
Your baseline.
Yeah, because like let's say I'm doing single leg deadlifts for the first time, and I'm like, all right, do the first set with like 6 kilos. All right, that didn't touch the sides. All right, let's do the next set with 10. Oh, okay, we'll go 12. Oh, I'll do 12 again for a couple of sets. Oh, that was something. So then I make a note for myself. I did 3 sets at 12 kilos. But next week, I'm going to do all 5 at 12 kilos.
Right.
And then I'm off to the races, because then it's like, okay, cool, we can start bumping up incrementally, which is where we go next.
Yeah.
But I think giving yourself that first week or so to just learn and establish where you're at is really handy, because if you're trying to rush in and get a workout in week 1, you're often kind of missing that phase, huh?
Yeah, and definitely it's to your point, Joe, learning the program. You might be like, well, I've already done squats, but you may have never done Bulgarian split squats, and maybe they come next.
Yeah.
Depending on what program you're doing. And I had a few people go, man, you put Bulgarian split squats after squats? The fuck is wrong with you? Like, it fucks me up, man. It's like, yeah, you've got to look at the total program and know that that is your body of work for the day. So don't try and max out. I mean, yeah, we're trying to get your work and know that we put the squat first because that's your primary, but you also got to know those split squats are in there.
That's right.
Keep that in your mind.
Yeah.
So we want you to have good form and good technique for your accessory movements as well, like later in the program. So here's the other thing, which I think is a misunderstanding. We always talk about like what is a good amount of weight for you, like what's a good lift to achieve, whether it's being able to do 10 pull-ups with your body weight or for you to be able to deadlift your body weight or whatever. If you're starting from zero, don't worry about any of that stuff. You have to go to where you are now. And this is the thing I always say to people, like it's always important for you, once you've done your warm-up, to do a bit of a ramp up. Because on that day, you might not have slept well, you might have not eaten properly, you know, a ton of factors, and then you are a bit weaker that day than you normally would be. You need to go to where you are that day. So if 20 kilos on a particular movement, whatever it might be, feels hard, trust that, like tap into that. Don't be like, oh, everyone else is doing 30 or my friend does 40, I should do 40. Like, f*** that. You need to go, okay, where am I right now and how's my form and work to that.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the mistakes that we make when we first start lifting is trying to catch up or follow what other people do, not understanding what is actually the right spot for you.
Yeah, 100%. And to reiterate what you mentioned earlier, like the quality really is that we had a bit of interference then. Did you hear that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
I think we're good.
The quality really is the thing. Like you want to perform these exercises well. And here's the thing, if you look at someone who is a good quality lifter or bodyweight strength person, you look at their movements and it's quality.
They have control.
Yeah, they have control. The repetitions all look the same. Like they're hitting full range of motion often, unless the exercise is deliberately not. But, you know, there's this expression and you can see and be like, wow, like, they look good. You know, they look strong. It's often what we say. And so keeping quality is the main thing, especially when you're new. That is how you're going to put yourself on the best footing to make consistent gains. But if you instead chase the weight from day one and push the quality to the side, you won't have that foundation.
Yeah, I saw, James Gandolfini. It was like a meme, and it was like, there's a guy on bench, and it's like, it says, oh, my shoulder, I don't want to. And it's got James Gandolfini going, do it! And it's got my ego. It's like, do I go heavier or do I, you know, like it's him screaming. And I think that's the thing that we all want to be stronger. So we're like, oh, we should lift heavy to get strong, right? And I think that this is a misconception because there's many ways for you to get strong, which isn't just putting more weight on the bar. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share a secret with you. This is my secret little baggie. Oh yeah, Sodi. So in this awesome little bag is 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 210 milligrams of potassium, and 70 milligrams of magnesium. Now, the sodium in here is Australian lake salt. And the thing which a lot of people don't realize, now I'm going to mix it up right now. I do this every day, sometimes twice a day, is they're not hydrated. And if you're thirsty after warm-up, when you're at jiu-jitsu, you're not hydrated. So just drinking water is not good enough. I'm going to give that a little stir. I have 600 mils of water here. Some of you might like 500, depending on how salty you like it. And there's a good amount of salt here. Just drinking water, you're going to pass that. You're going to sweat that. Ooh, delicious. And the flavors are awesome. I really like this one. So for me, when I'm having this, 600 mils is the right amount. I really like it. It's not too strong, but I know that it's making the difference in me keeping the water where it needs to be, which is in my muscles, in my bloodstream. And if you want to roll better, staying hydrated is absolutely key. If you go to sodi.com.au, sodi.com.au, that's SODII, and use the code bulletproof15, you can get 15% off your order with Sodi. Stay hydrated, friends. So this is where we come to more of the when to go up.
When do I add weight?
Yeah. So you started lifting and you're getting some newbie gains, feels good, starting to feel strong. You've got some consistency. you're looking at your program and you're like, well, it says 4 sets of 8 to 12. What does that mean? How do I read into that? And so my advice around this would be, once you can do 4 sets of 12, like pretty comfortably, and you feel like you could go up, then that's the time to increase it 5, potentially 10% depending on the lift, because upper body is not going to take the same level of progression. Like a shoulder exercise, you're not going to be able to just up that 10% and expect to keep that. Then once you've increased the weight, whatever it might be, you then reduce it back to the 4 sets of 8.
Yeah.
You know, and then gradually add your reps up until you can do 4 sets of 12 again.
Just to like paint that super clear, like you've got a rep range, 8 to 12. So JT is saying once you're at the top of that rep range for all of the sets and you feel good with that, you can then increase the weight, start back down at the bottom of the rep range, and that journey to the top of the rep range begins again.
Cycle through.
Yeah.
And that applies for strength too. So if you're starting with, say, less reps, you're doing, say, 3 reps on a movement, or you're doing 5 and you're building up to 8, just start with your 3 sets of 5 or your 4 sets of 5, and then build that up to 4 sets of 6, 4 sets of 7, 4 sets of 8. Then once you can do that, up the weight, just that small percentage. And look, it's probably going to take you a couple weeks to get there, but that's okay. Like, this is the process.
Yeah.
This is just the nature of things, that it does take time to build strength, and it does take time to build this coordination. You don't need to rush it. Don't judge yourself too harshly, like, I'm not getting strong enough. Strength is consistency. And if you don't have the consistency, then you know, you're not going to get as strong as you could be.
Yeah, I'll give you the classic example. I train, we've trained a bunch of folks over the years, and I'm sure JT will know this person in his own experience, but it's the person that is often really busy, is a little bit inconsistent with their training. And so when they do make it in, they go twice as hard because they're making up for fucking missed sessions. Yeah. And so they're like, well, I'm just going to, I'll ask them, like, how much heavier was that set of deadlifts on your, I chucked an extra 20 on each side. You're like, whoa, you're at your 3rd working set and you jumped up 40 kilos, bro. What? And then and then they're the kind of, that cooked my back a little bit. Like, whoa.
And then they don't come for another 3 weeks.
That's right. You don't want to be that person, right? They're taking big leaps, trying to get somewhere, but they're ultimately getting knocked back 2 steps every time.
Yeah. It's a false economy. It's like speeding, right? Like when you're in the car. And this is me. I actually did the math on this the other day. I was like, well, how much time will I save? I had to travel 45 minutes to get somewhere. And it's mainly on like kind of freeways and big roads where you can go a bit faster. It's 80 or 100 Ks an hour. But I was like, well, if I were to travel at 120 Ks an hour, how much time would I actually save? And even if I could just slam it at 120 to 140 Ks an hour the whole way there, I actually would only end up saving about 5 or 6 minutes across the whole journey.
Yeah.
But the risk of having a car accident, getting fined, getting pulled up, like, is it worth a $1,200 fine and losing my license to save 6 minutes? Oath it is. Because I'll know I smoked everyone who wasn't trying to race me. Little bitches. But that's the thing. Like, it's weird that we get this default mode of like, I must. No one's telling you must fucking anything. It's some strange thing that's built into our psychology, which actually comes from a place of insufficiency, which is, you're not good enough. You should be stronger. Get stronger faster. What's wrong with you? And it's all bullshit, because actually the thing that's going to get you where you want to go is a degree of patience, which is hard. And I struggle with that because I'm a pretty impatient person.
To something you mentioned there that's really important, this 5 to 10% increase.
Yeah.
And so the basic concept behind this, and this is really for the less experienced folks, is progressive overload. And all this means is that in order for you to get whatever the benefit of the training is that you're doing, whether that specific benefit is strength or muscular endurance or cardiovascular fitness, right? Any benefit, there needs to be an element of increasing difficulty over time.
Yeah.
This is called progressive overload. And it just means that on the whole, you should be aiming to make things slightly more challenging session to session. If you're new to the game, probably every session you're going to be able to do that. If you're a bit more experienced, it's maybe not going to be every week. It's going to be, or every workout, right? It might be a bit slower. But the idea is we're chasing some kind of progressive overload. So in this specific example of 8 to 12 reps, You might increase the reps. That would be increase in difficulty, or you might add more weight and drop the reps. That would be an increase.
Yeah.
But sometimes it might just be shorter rest periods. It might be add an extra set.
Yeah.
But we need to have this in mind that because if you just lift the same thing for the same amount of reps all the time, your body's going to get very good at just handling that, and there's not going to be no response from that stimulus. So we need to be chasing this slight increase all the time.
Yeah, just gradually, and it comes in many forms. And that was the other thing I was going to say, speaking to the idea of movement quality and people looking better when they're doing a move. The degree of control is also time under tension. So doing reps slower is actually harder if you're trying to get stronger. Like time under tension is a real difficult thing. And we play with that a little bit in our strength program, where you're hanging for longer or you're holding a position for longer, like to get your muscles stronger at that point, which might be quite weak otherwise. So there's a lot of ways for you to get strong, which isn't just adding weight on the bar. And this is where we go to another point on this, which is how are you bouncing back from your workout? So you might be able to get the workout done. You might have had 2 cans of Monster or whatever, you're double scooping your pre-workout, you're smashing coffees, you haven't slept that well, but you're still getting that workout in. Oh, I'm still getting stronger. But are you then sore for multiple days after? Are you not doing the right things by your health? And then subsequently, even though you can get the workout done, you're not bouncing back as quick. This feedback of like, how sore is your body? How quickly are you restored? That actually tells you if you're ready to go heavier or not. Because if you're working so hard to get the workout done and you're ticking that box, credit to you, but maybe that's a little bit above where you are currently.
You're going a bit too hard, and your recovery is not allowing you to then adapt to that.
Improve, yeah. And so you stay at this level of not quite adapting, not quite improving. And yeah, you're doing that workout, but because you're not recovering, the feedback is you're not quite ready for this level yet. Or the other things you do in your life is not allowing you to adapt to that. So for some of you out there who are going hard in the gym, you're making it happen, give you some credit there. But another piece of feedback is you might get away with the workout, but how long it takes you to recover, that is really the true source of feedback. And what we want you to do is be able to do your workout. You know, maybe it takes you a day, maybe 2 days, depending on if you're new to the exercises or whatever it might be. But you should be good to roll. You know, you shouldn't have to take days off jiu-jitsu because your workout in the gym was so hard.
Absolutely.
And I've done that to myself. I've gone too hard in the gym and then I just couldn't roll.
Yeah, well, we've spoken about this. Like, if you are into the strength thing and you're following programming or that's for strength athletes, then those sorts of programs don't take into account your jiu-jitsu training. They're just like, yo, we're here to get strong, and it's 5 days a week and it's f***ing hard. So if you're trying to incorporate that with your jiu-jitsu and you're not at an elite level with the strength thing, it's going to probably end in tears.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do something that's a little bit more moderate, a little bit lighter, like lighter in its total demand on the week, which is why all of our programs are built around like 2, maybe 3 days of training, right?
Yeah.
We keep it pretty minimal exactly for that reason. So yeah, that's a thing to be mindful of.
We want it to be complementary. And we don't want it to detract, or we don't want it to be competing with your time on the mat, because we know it's hard enough for you to just get there and have good sessions anyway. But that said, in terms of you knowing when you're ready to go heavier, if you're doing a workout, you find you can bounce back within a day or so, or, you know, not that muscle soreness is the key measurement, more that you're able to get up and you think, oh, I could do a workout. That's a really good sign. It's a good sign you're recovered, and it's a good sign that you've adapted to that level of stress, and maybe it's time to just step it up a notch, because a lot of people are not necessarily paying attention to that. And that's not to say that you have to feel awesome to want to go up a little bit, but it's more that it's really important for you to just be getting that little bit of internal feedback, whether you're writing it in your journal or you just check in with yourself. You think, oh, it's Friday, I don't feel completely that's a good feeling.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the biggest challenge for all of us, is being able to have a bit of a feedback mechanism, whether it's a training partner or a coach or someone who can let you know, oh, you're doing better. And that's helpful too. whether that's a form check-in. The accountability piece with a training partner is pretty helpful. Having somebody to train with, I think, is very helpful because they can also have a look and go, hey, man, that form is shit. They can tell you. It's good to have an honest training partner. I'm excited.
Why's that?
We have an apparel sponsor, Parry Athletic.
Bro, George came through, messaged us on the Instagram, said he's been following our program for ages. He's getting stronger and more mobile. And he's got this cool gear company called Parry, and he wants to send us some stuff.
And he told me that his mission was to create the best pair of training shorts ever.
Yeah, he wanted something that he could lift and roll in, and that could accommodate thick, muscular thighs and hips.
And that suits us.
Speaks to us.
Also, what I like is I love the colorful design. It actually looks really cool.
I am the most colorful dude on the mats these days, hands down.
I think the thing that I've loved about it is just it feels good. It feels good. It looks good. And you, ladies and gentlemen, can get a discount when you go to checkout. If you go to parryathletics.com, put in the code bulletproof20 and you get 20% off. Oh, yeah.
You know, by the time this comes out, we'll actually have a group specifically on our Facebook community for form check-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like, film yourself doing the thing, send us, and we'll give you the feedback.
Yeah.
You know, so if you don't have a training partner or you got one, but they don't know what's up, you know, then let us critique that for you.
Get the expert eyes on it.
Now, just a note on this, we're kind of biased, most of what we've just said, towards people who tend to go a bit too hard.
Sure.
Right? And it's like a bit of a, hey, slow it down a bit, go for smaller incremental increases. But the other sort of archetype we need to look at just quickly are the people that just don't go up. The people that, and we speak to these people sometimes in our program, they're like, hey, I've been doing the program for 3 months. And we're like, oh, cool. Like, what are you lifting for X? Well, I've just been lifting this, which is the same that I started with 3 months ago. You're like, oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, no, you need to turn it up.
Yeah.
So try to get an idea of where you're at. If you're the person that's like just always lifting the same thing and the workouts don't seem to be getting any harder, you need to put a little fire under your butt and just start going for that increase. If you're the person that's on the other end of the spectrum, always chasing huge jumps, pull it back.
Yeah. And what we might do is we might just take a small segue into standards. So there's a part of our program, our standards program, where it has a function, which I think is awesome, where you can progress. Now, actually, I had someone get a bit confused and they were progressing like every session.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, I did that workout, I'm going to progress. No, it's not quite like that. The reason why we have the progressions in there is for some of you out there, when you're training, you might find that your lower body gets stronger faster. And then for some of you out there, your upper body might get stronger faster. And you might already be better at some exercises than others. So it's there for there to be a flexible way for you to challenge movements that you're better at, but then also work to the appropriate level for the things that you're not so good at. But here's the deal with standards. The reason why we've done it in this graded way is because you don't have to necessarily go heavier to get stronger. You can improve movement complexity or technicality. So just by changing the movement slightly, you can really make those muscles or that particular movement that much harder by, making it a single leg or, making it a B stance, or there's a few different ways that we can challenge you, and that's why we've put the progressions in there. But then there's also moves that don't progress.
Yeah, so we've given you that power so that you can sort of customize the program to where you're at. And it's a beautiful feature, but it needs to be harnessed correctly in order for it to have the best result. So with standards, we have designed that program around the 12 key exercises that we want you to get good at. Now, some of these are real tricky. They require not only a lot of strength, but also a lot of flexibility and also a lot of coordination. So when we're looking from taking you from the beginning to the end, there has to be this journey of like increasing difficulty and challenge. And this is where it's not just a matter of putting more weight onto the deadlift. We actually want to change that deadlift. We want to go, hey, let's go split stance now, or let's go single leg. So the nature of the exercise actually changes. We've given the user, you, power to navigate that at your own pace. For some exercises, some of them are set and they will update over time. But so the thing there is, I guess the big recommendation is, even though you can skip through those exercises and you might be able to like skip through them and with all of them, they work best when you actually do all of them for at least 4 weeks. Yep. And so what that is like, if you get to something you're like, oh, this isn't super gnarly for me, but I can feel I'm working somewhat. Cool, do it for 4 weeks.
Stay there.
And then go to the next one. Because what you're doing then is you're just you're squeezing all the juice from the beginner, from the earlier stuff, not even beginner, just earlier stuff. And you're building this huge foundation. So then as you start to move towards more difficult exercises, you got this big foundation you're resting upon. I see this a lot with people that are chasing like body weight strength goals. It's like, you see it with CrossFitters actually. They might be able to do the thing that's like really hard. Say it's a ring muscle up, a strict one or something, but it's a dead end for them.
Yeah.
They got a couple reps, they look like shit, and that's it. It cannot progress from there any further because the foundation is really small.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at, if you build that foundation, great, get to the muscle up, cool, move through that to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you've just, your ability to go higher is greater.
Yeah, definitely. And on that, I think that idea of milking, like this is the thing that my old Russian coach said to me, is you can milk the weight. You don't actually have to lift a heavier weight to actually be stronger. Mother's milk. Here's the thing. If you can say right now your max deadlift is 70 kilos, and so you can only do 2 or 3 reps there. If you gradually just stay at 70 kilos and you do varieties of slightly lighter about that weight, and then you build up to being able to do 10 reps with that 70 kilos, you know that you'll be able to pick up 80 kilos and do a couple of reps, but you don't actually need to have gotten stronger.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I never understood before. Back in the day, like we're talking like probably 15 years ago, I was always like, well, to be stronger, it's got to be heavier. That's as simple as it gets. Maybe. But hear me out. If you can lift 70 kilos for 10 reps, we could say that your maximum is now probably closer to 90 kilos. But you wouldn't have had to pick up the 90 kilos to do it. And that's safer. It's always safer for you to be working sub-maximally.
Yeah.
Like just under where your max is. And what that is we don't want you to get injured in the gym. So as much as we do want you to go that little bit heavier, get that bit stronger, you should not be getting injured in the gym because you're much more likely to get injured at jiu-jitsu. Let's leave the chaos to the grappling and keep the control in the gym.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think so what are we talking about there then? We're saying like, in terms of you progressing something, you've got adding more weight. It's the simplest way to do it.
Sure.
But you've got adding more reps.
Yep.
You've got adding an extra set.
Yes.
Right, if the program allows for that. But the big one I think that's really unique to us is you're doing it better.
Yeah, quality.
And you literally might be like, I did 4 sets at 70 kilos today, but my last 2 sets kind of felt like shit. And I think they were pretty rough. Like I felt like my back changed position.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that again next week. And then maybe it's a little bit better. And then maybe the next week you're like, that was clean. Okay, great. Time to go up or to add reps the next week.
Yeah, definitely. And also just the last little piece is like, how well am I bouncing back from this? Because then the thing that might be holding your strength back isn't necessarily the weights you're doing in the gym. It's the other stuff you're doing around it, which might mean you're not quite bouncing back the way you should.
Boss.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, fam.